A lot has changed for everyone during this pandemic, but for some students who had finally found a rare offering that allowed for independent living and learning, the loss of a post secondary program is potentially devastating. With us to explain, Sarah Trick. She's an Ontario Hub's editor, and she joins us now from Ottawa. Hello, Sarah.
Hi, Jan.
So, I want to talk about the Attendant Service Program. As we mentioned, it is quite a rare program in this country and in this province. What do we need to know about it, and who actually offers this program?
So, the Attendant Services Program is run through Carleton University in Ottawa with a satellite site at Algonquin College. Um, what it does is it offers 24-hour attendant care to students living in residence who have disabilities and who need help with personal care. So, they do stuff like helping people go to the bathroom, helping people get dressed and go to bed, um, get up, anything that they might need in residence to live an independent life.
Now, is this program hiring personal support care workers, or are these students who are also helping out in this program?
It is mostly students, but then sometimes they hire PSWs as well. But primarily, it's students.
Now, this program has been canceled this semester, and you had the opportunity to chat with some students who would have normally taken part in this class. Can you give us an idea of why this program was canceled? Of course, we're in the midst of a pandemic. What did that have to play in that?
So the program was originally shut down in the middle of March when everybody went home from universities. It continued to be shut down throughout the following, I guess, until sorry, like between March and then up to now. What's different now is that Carleton University has returned to mostly in-person instruction for this fall. It has opened its residence. It is having in-person events, but it has not brought back the attendant services program.
You had mentioned, all of that stuff, including, recreational sports and team sports. All of those have been given green lights. A lot of these universities have vaccine requirements. Shouldn't that all help in terms of getting this program back up and running?
It should. Carleton itself does have a vaccination requirement, even to live in residence or to attend classes. It has screening measures and other health measures in place. But the university has said that they do not want to bring it back at this time because the nature of providing personal care doesn't allow for physical distancing.
Now, you have some personal experience with the attendant service program. I'm hoping you can share some of your insights at sort of what's at stake for students who aren't able to sort of take part and be in person on campus while enrolling in classes.
Okay, so there's a lot at stake here. First of all, I'll say I lived at Carleton on and off, um, I think for about 9 or 10 years. I was a client of the attendant services program. And what it did was it allowed me to live an independent life. So I moved there when I was almost 19. I had never bought my own groceries. Um, I had never been able to use the bus regularly. I had never been able to manage my own schedule. My parents did that for me, not because of any lack of capacity, but because like the infrastructure wasn't there. So when I moved to Carleton, the infrastructure was there, and I was able to live an independent life, participate in classes, and in the social life of campus. Um, Now that is not available to these students. And the university has said that they are planning to give people, clients, online options so that they can continue with their studies. But a lot of people don't have options to attend those classes. For example, I spoke to a journalism student. She's not able to take her radio and TV required courses this year. So if the program doesn't come back, she'll have to delay her graduation because there's just too much in-person instruction in order for her to feasibly do it on Zoom.
There was also a couple of students that you spoke to, one in particular that kind of highlighted sort of the added pressure on families and students. There was one student who decided to sort of forego his semester or their semester. Do you mind telling me about that story?
Yes. So one student basically has told me he was at Algonquin College and he had to moved back in with his parents, and he told me that he was not able to continue with his studies because there just wasn't the support there for him, and it would require too much work from his family as his primary caregivers to be able to make that feasible. Another student that I spoke to said that was only offered 2 hours a week of care from an agency. She needs multiple visits of care per day. So um, the university says that they're trying to diminish the risks, but one of the points that one of these students made is that um, they're still at risk. They have less care than they would at Carleton. There's no accessible housing options for them. Basically, they are falling through the cracks.
You had touched on sort of the experiences that you went through being at Carleton, being a part of the program for 9 years. Can you talk to me a little bit about sort of the long-term outcomes? You had mentioned that you never bought groceries before, you never had that sort of independent living. Can you tell me a little bit about sort of beyond those university years, what this program sort of means for these students?
Um, to put it bluntly, I have a job
Hmm.
and I'm able to live in an apartment by myself with caregivers, um, which I wouldn't have been able to learn the skills to manage caregivers if I hadn't been part of the attendant services program. When people live at home with their families, even if the families try to foster independence in the children, often just the resources aren't there. It's harder to attain things like a degree. Just the educational and employment outcomes aren't there. And then there is data showing that the more severe one's disability is and the more care you need, the less likely you are to get a higher education or full-time employment.
You spoke to some experts. I'm hoping, and you've been through this program. Are there any suggestions you have for students to get back into the class?
Honestly, I'm somewhat puzzled about that because the university has said that they want to do it when they can do it safely. I specifically asked them what that would mean, what safety indicators needed to be in place. Um, I'm not saying that it's the wrong decision to keep the program closed. I don't know that, but I don't know what the university thinks would make it safer. And before that, I can't really offer suggestions. Like I could say, everybody should be vaccinated. Presumably, to work on campus, they already should be. If they're going to be in close quarters with attendants, they should probably wear masks. I'm assuming that would have been in any safety plan. So I don't know what the university is waiting for.
There was something that you talked about in your article where you talked about sort of some students sort of understood that there were risks already going into school already. So this pandemic is just an added sort of risk on top of that. And there were some students who are, sort of okay to go back into the classroom. What did they have to say about it? It seems, they want to be in.
Yeah, it seems like opinions were divided on that. Like I spoke to some people that really did want to go back and some people that said that they weren't ready. Honestly, I think most people that I spoke to that didn't want to go back go to school at Algonquin College, where most of the classes are still offered online. So I think possibly the impacts to them might be less. But the people that I spoke to, and from what I've heard, the people that are advocating for this at Carleton really do want to go back. They understand the risks, um, but they say, we have to have support workers and caregivers no matter what. The only question is whether we will be doing it at Carleton or whether we will be doing it at home. And frankly, if people are only allotted 2 hours of care per week at home, that is not safe for them. That is not reducing their risk in any appreciable way.
We're going to have to leave it there, Sarah. Of course, a story that we will continue to follow. Thank you so much for this.
Thank you.
The Agenda with Steve Paikin is made possible through generous philanthropic contributions from viewers like you. Thank you for supporting TVO's journalism.